Welcome to the Rustic Garden Homestead. Today's video is all about using grass clippings. It is a great way to create compost, bring organic matter into your garden, bring nitrogen into your garden, and it's pretty much free. Fall grass, fall lawns, weeds, the grass, they're not producing seed heads right now. So they are perfect for cutting and using in your garden. I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways how to set up the compost pile over there. It's got a lot of debris and vines on top that aren't really going to break down unless we cover them with something. So we're going to cover them with grass. Moving back over this way, I've got open bins. I'm going to be setting these up with grass and leaves, doing some warm composting. Not quite hot composting, it'll heat up, but I don't keep it going for weeks and weeks. I just like to kind of warm up the area, get everything breaking down, and this will be good for 2 years from now. What was in there has all been moved over, and it's under that tarp. That's going to be covered for the later fall and winter. That's going to be my compost for next year. In here, this has just been debris, organic matter I've been throwing in for many years. This will be all used next year, so I haven't added anything into there. So we're going to use grass clippings to get my compost station up and going, but we're also going to take it out into the garden, and you can use it directly in beds. It's a great source of organic matter and nitrogen. In the fall, it's a great idea to use your lawn clippings. Could be grass, could be clover, could be weeds. I don't treat my lawn, so it's a mix of everything, but it's basically a green manure. It is loaded with nitrogen. It is a great free way to really give nitrogen back to the space, give food for the worms, soil microbiology. We're just going to drop down a couple inches of the green manure, essentially. A lot of people plant cover crops and legumes to bring in nitrogen. You already have lots of free nitrogen in your lawn clippings, so you might as well use it. It's basically chop and drop. We're just chopping it over in the lawn area, and we're going to drop it into the garden beds. I'm going to show you how to use it in here. It really makes a difference, much better than organic granular fertilizers. That is organic, but it doesn't give a whole lot of organic matter, stuff the soil loves, worms love, microbiology loves, to your soil. You need that, so use the clippings now in the fall. The best thing for your garden is, of course, compost. If you don't have that, second best thing, grass clippings, lawn clippings, untreated lawn clippings. It's underused, and everybody knows about these clippings, so I do recommend trying to get them incorporated more into your garden. If you don't have a lawn, check with a friend, with a neighbor that doesn't use chemicals on their lawn. Use those clippings. You want to get them fresh. So I am not going to be using these beds this winter. I've already prepped them with some organic granular, some compost. I will link the video in the video description that shows you how I do that. I just did a video about 2 weeks ago. I actually cut my tomato plants, leave the roots in the ground, cover them over. Once your bed's set up, and it doesn't have to be set up if you don't have compost, if you don't put down organic granular fertilizer, that's fine. Just go with the grass clippings. You're going to put down 3 or 4 inches, and you want it to be loose, just like this, so that air is in there. You don't want to pack it down. It's going to smell. Worst case is you put this down, it's going to break down, it's going to fade out in 5 to 6 months. If it's not quite where you want it, just rake it to the side in the spring, put in your transplants, and rake it back over. The worms, the soil life is going to love it. So we're just going to put down a good 3 or 4 inches over these containers. I really recommend you do this. 4 inches of grass clippings. I want to do more than that. It's nice and loose. Just let it sit here for the next 5, 6 months. If it looks like it gets too compacted and doesn't look right to you, just fluff it up with a rake or something like that. But they should just dry, break down. Come spring, like I said, if it's not fully broken down, just move it to the side. Put in what you want. As those transplants get bigger or the seedlings come up, just move it back over. It'll act as a mulch, it'll keep moisture in there, and the worms and soil life will continue to love it. Coming over on this side, finished out this bed. I'm not going to be using it, so you do want to cover it. And again, lawn clippings are wonderful. Nice and loose, just something like this when you're sprinkling it down. I don't know, there's maybe 3 inches on here. You don't have to put a ton down. Just let it do its thing. It's going to be good to go. Let's look at a bed that has some transplants in it. These are my onions. I transplanted them maybe about 3 weeks ago. They're going to overwinter. They'll manage in the fall. Winter, they're not going to do a whole lot, but come spring, they should come back and, you know, develop really nice onions. I'll be doing a video on this. Just got in here real quick, broke up the weeds that are coming up. For using, or when using the grass clippings in something like this, you don't want to put in 4 inches because you don't want the grass clippings to go way up. So we're only going to put maybe an inch down. Let me grab some. And you're just trying to smother all the weeds. You know, maybe an inch, but you'll just slowly go across, cover up the weeds. That will kill off the annual weeds. It'll be there for the plants. It'll help keep moisture in there. And you do this more in steps. So after this would totally dry, brown out, after putting down about an inch, I may come back and put down another inch. Just don't pile up 3-4 inches on your transplants. Everything's covered up with about an inch of the grass clippings. Most of the weeds you saw will be smothered. Some of them will poke through. You'll just have to remove them by hand. But this really does make a difference. Again, I want to stress, in my garden beds. It's a great way, especially if you don't have room to make compost, you don't have the space, is to bring organic matter to your beds by using leaves. I'll be doing a video on that, and grass clippings, but the process is pretty much the same. The difference is that the green of the lawn clippings really brings a lot of nitrogen. So I really recommend, if you can, is to get your green lawn clippings in here. Green means nitrogen. This will break down. Nitrogen will be pulled into your soil for next year. You can also use the grass clippings in containers. Only put in 1 to 2 inches. You don't want to overdo it. Now, the ecosystem, the soil biology in containers, is a little bit different than what's in your ground. However, the grass clippings, the lawn clippings, are going to really give back to your container soil. And the best thing about this is when this dries up, you know, over the 5 or 6 months, just mix it into the container mix. It's going to absorb water. It's going to give the organic matter to the microbes that are in there. And you really want to just take whatever you put on top in the fall, mix it into the depth of the container come spring, and that helps refresh your soil. All right, so we used lawn clippings to put some of the beds to sleep, mulch beds that are growing different vegetables. This is going to be my cold compost pen. On the bottom, last year I did some videos, leaves, grass went down there. The stuff on the bottom is pretty good. But I added in all of this organic matter from the garden. Lots of vines, sunflowers, some sticks are probably in there. That's going to take forever to break down because it's exposed. It's not going to stay moist. So you want to take your grass clippings, and this is how you would use it for cold composting. And we're just going to try and cover that entire mound. Get the grass into the pockets. A lot of the stuff there is dried, it's brown. The grass, high in nitrogen, freshly cut, mixing with the browns will heat up a little bit. It's going to just help this whole space break down. This is going to take really a good 2 years, 3 years to fully break down, but I'll be digging stuff out of the bottom. So for kind of a cold composting process, this is what you do. I also got a wheelbarrow full of lawn cuttings from the space right here. This may take, you know, a couple of times to take care of this pen, but this is all free resources. This is really what organic gardening is about, and this is just a great source of organic matter and, again, nitrogen. This pen is like 4 feet by 4 feet. One wheelbarrow full of clippings in there. That is not nearly enough. It's going to take probably 3-4 more barrelfuls to really put on the amount of grass that I want to. I will link a bunch of videos, especially how to make this setup that you see right here, in a video description. There's just so many ways to compost. So what I want to do is get all the grass into the air pockets, mix it in with everything that I threw on top of here, and I'll just get a pitchfork, a little hard to do one-handed, but I'll just kind of fluff everything around and let the grass start falling into the pockets. It takes a little bit of work, but you're really going to appreciate what comes out of this 2 years from now. Now, 2 years seems like a lot, but hopefully you're alive and kicking, your gardens are doing well, life is good. Start it now because life goes forward. In 2 years, this is just going to be beautiful stuff. So I'm going to work all the grass into here, and then we'll go to the next project. Just wanted to add one more part for this piece. This is what it looks like after I've worked the grass into the pile, and I'm going to put more down on top of there. And you would just continue to do that until you feel like it's pretty solid. The green again is going to heat up, help this break down. But more importantly, after you're done, just soak everything down. You want all the browns to be moist. Because it is the fall, everything should stay, you know, nice and damp, and soil biology and microbes can do their magic. The final use for the grass clippings is to make a somewhat hot compost pile. Hot composting means you're mixing greens with browns like leaves. You can use cardboard, and I'm going to just kind of do lasagna. Layers. I have a lot of videos on this already. 3-4 inches down on the base, about 2 inches of browns, more grass, more browns, more grass. You build up the pile. That's going to heat up, and it's going to stay warm for a while. Helps everything just break down. And that's what I mainly do in these 2 bins, where I'm going to get some of the leaves since they're not falling yet, and I'll be building that over the next 6 weeks of October and November. These are bins that were filled with leaves, up pretty high. This has been 2 full years. I just want to show you what's coming out of here. This is just beautiful. So I'm going to take the leaves up here that haven't fully composted down. They're going to get mixed into the browns, but down here where stuff has been sitting for years, look at that. That's already completed compost. So I'm going to take the leaves off, put them on top of the greens that I just showed you that I put down, and I'm going to have all this beautiful leaf compost. I'll probably combine the compost from these 3 bins, the completed leaf compost, into one space, and then I'll fill this up again with leaves. I'll be doing a whole video on this if you want to subscribe and follow me. So this is going to be the layer of my browns or the carbons. In here you can see some hay or straw from a year back or so. This stuff is pretty well broken down. If you don't have leaves, again, you could use shredded cardboard. You could even use straw or hay to mix in with your lawn clippings. Just want to show you this gorgeous stuff. This is what's left. I mean, it's just beautiful compost. So I have enough for next year, but all the work that I'm doing now is to really replenish my compost bins so that 2 years from now, I'll have ample supply. So you're always building compost for the future. You don't have to be exact, but if you can, about 4 inches of grass, nice and loosely drop down, 3 or 4 inches, and then we're going to put down 1 or 2 inches of the browns. If you want to subscribe and follow me, I'll be showing you how you do this using cardboard, wood pellets, alternatives to leaves. But for now, I'm just taking the browns that aren't fully broken down from my different compost piles, and I'm just going to put down about 2 inches across here. I will continue the layer, taking it up to, right, you see the browns back there, that's some grass sitting back there, to about that height. Everything is nice and moist. I don't really need to water it in. If this was dry, you definitely want to add water. So if you're putting down, say, cardboard or leaves that are dry, soak down the browns, then you put on the next layer of greens. Just build your pile up. This is going to heat up nicely. All right, let me finish what I'm doing. Pile slowly getting built up. Could have used some straw that I had around the homestead, and about 2 inches. This is really loose and fluffy, so you could probably actually go maybe 3 or 4 inches. When you put the grass on, it's going to weight it down a little bit. It's pretty damp. Again, if it was dry, you would want to make sure you wet down all the browns that you're putting in there. So again, I'm going to continue with the layers. This is a great start for a hot composting pile. Hot composting, again, would require me to be turning this, keeping it moist, and in theory, in 30 days, 60 days, you can get completed compost. That's not something I'm after. I just want this to heat up, break down more quickly so that things speed up. I look for compost in about 6 months to a year, so I'm good with this. Stuck in a compost thermometer that's sitting, let's see if we can see what it is. That's sitting at 60 degrees. We'll come out tomorrow and check on it, but it should be up to at least 100 degrees. Some places will tell you to do 2 carbons, a ratio of 2 carbons to 1 nitrogen. I do 2 nitrogens to 1 carbon, 4 inches, 2 inches, etc. You can do equal amounts, you know, 2 inches of green, 2 inches of brown, 2 inches of green. The ratios really don't matter that much for composting over 6 months or a year. What really matters is just getting started. Forget the ratios. You can spend all this time figuring out the exact ratios of nitrogens to carbon, etc. But if you don't get started, you're not going to have compost. This is a great way to get compost to your garden. Let's see what this looks like in the morning, and we'll wrap up. It's been about 14 hours, and this little pile is heated up to almost 120 degrees. Now, this is not really, I mean, it's hot composting, but to really get this to break down in like 2 months or something, you have to do a lot of turning and managing it. I don't do that. I just set the piles up like this. They heat up, they stay warm for a good week or so. Things speed up. When this cools down, I'll just be putting more browns and greens on here. It'll heat up again and it sort of stays warm. Breaks down more quickly. And I use these two compost bays for really processing this kind of warm, hot composting process. And as it gets pretty much broken down almost to finish, it goes under the tarp, keep it moist, and I get the compost out of here much more quickly. The cold composting pile I showed you, this is one of them. That can take a good 2 years, but you're just really piling in different organic matter throughout the garden. It could be lawn clippings, grass, stuff from your garden, whatever it is. You just keep it going. The whole key to that is make sure you keep it moist. If you don't have space for composting, definitely use the grass clippings, lawn clippings this way. This will bring in organic matter to your beds. It'll feed the worms, soil life. It will break down, and it does really good stuff. You want the organic matter coming into your garden in the form that you see here. Just plain old granular organic fertilizer doesn't do a whole lot. You need this organic matter. When this all dries and gets incorporated into your soil, it holds moisture. It just is really good stuff. Do a little bit each year. You'll build your soil up over time and things will be great. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. And the only thing that really stops people from composting is getting started. Thanks so much for watching.